What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the Master League submitted to the channel by KingPeria464, who's running what might actually be a very strong Corebreaker this season in the form of Venusaur. Now it might not have the stat product to compete in neutral matchups, but it does destroy Rhyperior and a lot of Rhyperia's counters, as well as the many fairies in the current meta. He's using his own Rhyperior as well as a very interesting third pick in Gigalith, which is also running Mudstab, as well as double nukes with Meteor Beam and Solar Beam. So with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What do you think is the best Corebreaker for the current Master League meta? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. So go into the first battle, Venusaur into Melmetal, so definitely not ideal. We've got two Mudslap users in the back, so we're going to say swap into our Gigalith, and we're able to bait out a Kyogre. Now, honestly, I had no idea Gigalith learnt Solar Beam before this submission, but here we go, we're full sending it, and Kyogre does not respect the damage. We flip switch advantage, they come in with a Togekiss, and this game should already be over. We can now align it to our Venusaur, and of course this is a flying type Pokemon, but we are resisting the charm damage. They're resisting the Vine Whips, but Sludge Bomb will hit for super effective damage, and we will be able to very comfortably outpace them, although we're actually going to swap into our Rhyperior. Not really sure why we did that, but the opponent goes for an Ancient Power there, so actually quite a nice catch there. Very unlikely that they would go for a Aura Sphere in that matchup, so now we can go for the Rock Wrecker. Rock Wrecker is going to grab the final shield from the opponent, and the opponent will make it to another charge attack. At this point, we are definitely going to shield. The opponent does go and full send the Aura Sphere this time around, but then they swap back into their Melmetal. So at this point, going to use our final shield. They go for a superpower. They've now debuffed their attack and their defense. We're going to go straight for the Rock Wrecker, and this is resisted damage, but with the debuff to their defense, it does huge damage, and then we're able to make a very nice catch there, catching the move onto our Venusaur as they go for a superpower. And at this point, the opponent has just completely given up. They let us fully farm them down. We're going to come out with a Sludge Bomb loaded, and up against a Togekiss, this should be enough damage to eventually, when it does connect, take out the Togekiss, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we can see Venusaur into a Rhyperior. So this is a great lead matchup for us. Although I did actually check the sims, technically Venusaur does lose the 2 shield scenario just because they're able to make it to 3 breaking swipes before we make it to 3 frenzy plants. But we're actually going to swap out there, which is quite interesting. But maybe predicting Venusaur will also be very useful in the back. So the opponent goes for a breaking swipe bait. I've noticed a lot of Rhyperiors will just go for a breaking swipe first. It's quite risky to full send the Rock Wrecker and have it shielded. They go for another breaking swipe. Unfortunately, they have debuffed our attack, so this is also a resisted Meteor Beam. It does not get the KO, and they're able to Mudslap farm us down. Now this one we're going to wait out the switch lock. As we are switch locked, we come back in with the Venusaur. This will only be a breaking swipe, so we're happy to let it go through, and we will be able to go for a Vine Whip farm down. Again, they drop our attack, and they come in with a Ho-Oh, so honestly, they've got a Tapu Bulu in the back, so we were right in thinking that Venusaur would core break their team, but unfortunately, we do not have the right alignment, although that does huge damage, and you can see now that actually this Tapu Bulu is a bit under-leveled, so normally this would be a very bad matchup, but because we land the Rock Wrecker, we're able to get the Mudstab farm down, and at this point, this should be smooth sailing here, as we can just go straight for a breaking swipe. A little bit risky, I'd prefer to just go straight Rock Wrecker, but we do grab the final shield, and now at this point, we can just safely shield up whatever they throw. They go for Sacred Fire, doesn't really matter, we've got the Rock Wrecker loaded, and we can fire it off straight away. Rock Wrecker gets the one shot up against the Ho-Oh, and we're able to take that game. So going into next battle, you can see Venusaur into Kyogre, another Pokemon that Venusaur absolutely loves to see in the current meta. And of course, Kyogre, whilst it did get kind of somewhat nerfed in being more energy this season, it also absolutely shreds through Rhyperior, so I have seen it a fair bit in the few battles that I did do in the Master League this season. We're going to go and no shield the Surf, go for the Vine Whip farm down. They come in with Dialga, so of course, gonna swap out there. We swap into our Gigalith, baiting out a Garchomp, and at this point, doesn't really matter what we do. We're going to go and fire off a Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam is resisted damage. It still does some decent damage there, and we realized they were going to make it to a charge read before we got to the Solar Beam, so happy to just get any chip, then come in with the Venusaur, fire off the Frenzy Plant, and Rhyperior with 2 shields will absolutely be able to just fully Mudstab, farm down the Dialga coming back in, and we should be looking very comfortable here. But we do actually make it to a last second Frenzy Plant. That chip does not do much, of course. It is double resisted by the Steel and Dragon typing, but it doesn't really matter. Come in with the Rhyperior, we can commit both shields here if the opponent even bothers throwing, and then go for a full Mudstab farm down, taking out the Dialga, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, you can see a Haxorus in the lead. So this is very interesting. They are still running counter, so of course, energy generation not going to be as good as previous seasons. We're going to let the first move go through as they go for a Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe does drop our attack, unfortunately. It's a bit of an awkward situation here because, of course, Venusaur not going to have a great matchup up against Haxorus, especially now that our attack has been debuffed, but as well, counters will be super effective up against our backline. Either way, going to swap into our Gigalith, and the opponent goes for a Night Slash there, looking to maybe fish for an attack boost, but they don't get it. We're going to shield the next move as they go for a Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe doesn't get the debuff this time around. We get the Monster farm down, and they come in with a Togekiss, so going straight for the Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam is going to be no shielded. That does huge damage. They do just barely live that, but we're now going to come in with the Venusaur. They've got a Melmetal in the back, and once again, we should be looking fine here, although we are down a shield, and Melmetal, of course, can hit for super effective damage with either a superpower or possibly a double Iron Bash if they're running it up against our Rhyperior in the back. So basically, just stayed in with the Venusaur, waiting for them to throw a move. Honestly, it probably no shield the first move just because they're unlikely to go and debuff themselves straight away, and the opponent does bait with a Rock Slide, but it doesn't really matter at this point. We can tank 2 charge moves here. They go for superpower. That does just over 50% of our HP, but they swap back into Togekiss, trying to catch a move or just get off enough chip damage with those charms, but it doesn't work out as we still get the Mudslap farm down, and we're able to take that game. Into the next battle, you can see Mewtwo in the lead, so of course not a great lead matchup. Going to say swap into our Gigalith, and Gigalith should be able to live a Side Strike. It's going to do a lot of damage. It's definitely not as bulky as Rhyperior, but we do tank that. They come in with a Giratina now. Honestly, not that bad for us. We can go straight for a Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam going to do decent damage up against Giratina. Also boost our attack. Unfortunately, we do not make it to another charge move, but that's okay. We're going to come in with the Venusaur and basically just look to fully sacrifice it here. They go for the Shadow Ball. They're going to have to fire off another charge move to get the KO, and hopefully we've put them into range where we can just come in with the Rhyperior and go for a full Mudslap farm down. Can we get the farm down? Yes, we are able to do so. We're going to come out with very close to a Breaking Swipe already loaded. We're going to farm up, throw just before they make it to the next Side Strike here. We're going to go for the Breaking Swipe, grab a shield, and also drop their attack, which is very nice. Again, farming up and going for another Breaking Swipe, although they do just barely outpace us to that charge move. They swap there, trying to catch a Breaking Swipe. We're actually going to bait anyways. This is super risky. A Breaking Swipe does go unshielded, unfortunately, but we're already at Rock Wrecker. We're going to throw straight away this time around. Rock Wrecker does get the connection there. It gets the one shot. And at this point, because the opponent doesn't throw on optimal timing, I think we should just be able to go for a full Mudslap farm down, taking out the Mewtwo, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, you can see Venusaur into a Primarina. So once again, a very nice lead for the Venusaur here. They are running Charm. They're going to swap into another Charm user in Togekiss. And this is definitely what I was noticing when I was doing my battles. A lot of like ABA double fairies, which is a little bit interesting here. But either way, we're going to swap out of this matchup here into our Gigalith. We're going to no shield, a little bit risky here, but the opponent just goes for Nation Power. Honestly, I was not counting, so maybe they didn't have enough for the potential Aura Sphere anyways. But either way, we're going to fire off the Meteor Beam. Meteor Beam is going to grab the final shield from the opponent. So unfortunately, because we are running double Mudslap users in the back, we do need to rely on landing our charge moves as well. We've got Vine Whip in the front, so here, unfortunately, not dealing a lot of fast food pressure up against this Togekiss so far, but we will finally be able to take them out with a Sludge Bomb here. Sludge Bomb actually doesn't quite get the KO there. Doesn't really matter as we do get the farm down, and they're going to come back in with their Primarina. So very interesting. What on earth have they got in the back? Frenzy Plant is going to connect. It does big damage, and they've got a Mudslap Extra Drill in the back, which is fairly glassy, although they definitely should have come in with it up against our Venusaur, but it doesn't really matter at this point. We come in with the Rhyperior, we actually get the snipe before they throw a charge move, and they're just going to concede the match. So going into the next battle, you can see Venusaur into a Togekiss. So once again, good lead matchup for us, although we do seem to be swapping out of these matchups up against these Fairy-type Pokemon, which is a little bit strange, I will admit. I don't really know why we're doing this, because we somehow keep on losing switch advantage and then just getting a little bit lucky that the opponent's not really playing well in the end game. But either way, gonna no shield this. Side Strike actually doesn't quite take us out there. They do get the Psycho Cut farm down, and now we're gonna come in with our Rhyperior. So at this point, gonna no shield this, and the opponent goes for another Side Strike, which is fine. We are going to overfarm here and throw a Breaking Swipe. I'm not actually certain if this will get the KO here, so let's see. Breaking Swipe is going to grab the final shield, so the opponent actually going to double shield their Mewtwo. Fine with us. We can now just shield this and go for a full Mudslap farm down, as again, they do throw on poor timing, and we come out with a ton of loaded energy. They're going to come back in with the Togekiss. We're firing off the Rock Wrecker straight away. Rock Wrecker is going to nearly get the one shot. We then snipe with Venusaur, which I don't agree with, and actually that might be a throw here as they come in with a Giratina, which is going to completely wall our Venusaur. Frenzy Plant just not going to do much damage, at least unlike against the Dialga, it is only single resisted instead of double resisted, but either way, definitely not an ideal situation to be in. We're actually going to shield up the Shadow Ball there, and I think that probably was necessary just because if we don't shield that, they can then just farm us down, come out with so much loaded energy, whereas now we're basically forcing them to at least throw a charge move. But the opponent is playing it very smart, realizing these Frenzy Plants are not going to get the KO, but then they over farm too much, and we're able to snipe with the Rhyperior, just 1 month up away from a breaking swipe, getting the KO, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we can see Venusaur into Necrozma, so this is definitely not a good matchup. Gonna swap into our Gigalith, and the opponent is going to stay in, at least initially here, and they're going to swap into a Groudon. Please, can we land the Solar Beam? Please. We're full sending it once again. Solar Beam, unfortunately, is shielded this time around. I'm not sure if trainers know that this thing's got Solar Beam, or if they're thinking, well, this spiky rock thing, I've never seen it before. Might as well just play it safe and use a shield here. We make it to a Meteor Beam, obviously not a Solar Beam yet, but hopefully we do grab both shields from the opponent, and we do exactly that, which is very nice. The opponent is going to fire off a charge you. Honestly, if they go for Fire Punch, that's not so bad. Precipice Blade is going to do a lot of damage in this matchup since it is neutral here, but if they go for Fire Punch, we should be able to tank this pretty comfortably and make it to a Frenzy Plant, so that's good. Gonna fire off the Frenzy Plant straight away. Frenzy Plant gets the KO up against the Groudon. They come back in with Necrozma, and at this point we're just going to let the Venusaur go down. Dark Pulse gets the KO. We can come in with our Rhyperior, and we are going to go for a full Mudslap farm down in the situation. The opponent is going to go for a Dark Pulse bait once again, but they're not going to make it to a Sunsteel Strike. So they swap into Mewtwo. We go for a Rock Wrecker. Rock Wrecker does connect. It does big damage. We then swap. We make a brilliant catch there onto our Gigalith. The opponent goes for Side Strike. They're now in range where we can just Mudslap, farm them down, coming out with another Rock Wrecker already loaded. And of course, from this range, despite being resisted, Rock Wrecker will be taken out Necrozma, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we can see Venusaur into Ho-Oh, so definitely not a good lead matchup for us. Going to say swap into our Gigalith, going for one Fine Whip first, just because, of course, they're not going to be able to land an Incinerate before we swap out there, and then they swap into a Rhyperior, so hopefully we can just go straight for Solar Beam. We're at it right now. Breaking Swipe will not get the KO. Please, 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 just no shield this. Solar Beam, unfortunately, is shielded once again, but we can just come in with our Venusaur. We might actually have to shield in this matchup, though, just because a Rock Wrecker would deal big damage, and they have fully farmed us down there, so we do shield that up. We can now go for a massive farm down. I think this should just be a breaking swipe, so gonna no shield. Kind of need to save the shield for Rhyperior anyways, as Venusaur, a bit dead weight up against that Ho-Oh, and of course, we have very little fast move pressure up against the Ho-Oh in general, but they're going to come in with a Gyarados, so we're going straight for Rock Wrecker here, not baiting this time around. Rock Wrecker is going to connect, it gets the one shot up against the Gyarados, and at this point this is game over unless they're running Solar Beam on their Ho-Oh or maybe Earthquake, but they go for Sacred Fire, so that's a pretty clear indication there's going to be Sacred Fire and Brave Bird there, so we're going to go and fire off a Breaking Swipe bait. Again, I don't really think we need to bait there because we can tank anything they throw pretty comfortably, but either way the opponent's going to go for a Sacred Fire once again. We tank that and we can make it to the Rock Wrecker, and of course Rock Wrecker is going to be double super effective. It easily gets the one shot up against the Ho-Oh, and we're able to take that game. So going into the next battle, we can see Venusaur into Palkia. So this is a Water-type Pokemon, but unfortunately this is not a positive matchup for us, just because they're taking neutral damage from the Grass typing, and as well there's a huge difference in stat products between Venusaur and this Palkia. We're going to swap, I'm not really sure about that, but I guess trying to preserve the health on our Venusaur, and this is a bit of an ABB style team, so if they've got something in the back that completely destroys our backline, then of course we kind of need to bait it out. But unfortunately Palkia is also a Pokemon that completely destroys our backline, so not really sure if I would have played it like that, but we can put them into range where we can Mudslap, farm them down with the Rhyperior. Hopefully that is their best answer to a Rhyperior, and they come in with a Station, so looking fairly good for us. We can go straight for Rock Wrecker. Rock Wrecker grabs the shield, we then swap into our Venusaur, and we're able to make it to a Sludge Bomb, and this probably will grab the final shield from the opponent. It does grab that final shield before they swap into Ho-Oh, so honestly, not really sure why they stayed in with their Zacian for so long, but at this point, we're actually looking pretty good. Once again, probably just presuming they're not running Solar Beam. We no shield, it's a Sacred Fire. They do actually drop our attack though, which is definitely not ideal, but we're going to fire off the Rockbreaker here. Rockbreaker will definitely still get the KO despite being debuffed. They come back in with the Zacian, and honestly, we just have to double shield here and hope that they go for close combats, which they do. I don't know why. Of course, that debuffs their defense. They should probably go for Play Rush first, but either way, Rockbreaker now gets the KO because they debuff their defense, and we're able to take that game. We're going into the final battle here, and I do want to mention I did cut out a few battles where we did actually land a few more Solar Beams, but unfortunately the opponents just lagged out of those battles, and there was just a lot of tapping with not a lot happening, so unfortunately I did cut those out. But either way, into the final battle, we see a Melmetal in the lead, get a Sage Swap into a Gigalith, and they're actually running double Iron Bash as the charge attack here. So unfortunately, not going to debuff themselves when they throw it. They're also slightly spammier than the superpower. And as well, if they go for the Meteor Beam here and it's shielded, they can just go for a full Thundershock farm down, because unlike Rhyperior, we're not also part ground, so we don't resist the Thundershock damage. And now this Melmetal is kind of running through our team here. They will make it to back-to-back charge moves before we make it to the full Mud-Slap farm down, so we will start to respect the damage here, shielding up a double Iron Bash. We get the Mud-Slap farm down here, and let's see what they've got. They're going to come in with a Kyurem, so that is very interesting. What on earth have they got in the bag? We're going straight for Breaking Swipe. Breaking Swipe is not going to debuff their attack, but we can make it to a second Breaking Swipe straight away. So going to fire this off after one Mud Slap. We get the KO, and they come in with a Togekiss. So at this point, this is game over. We're going straight for Rockbreaker here. Rockbreaker is going to be no shielded by the opponent. Again, it doesn't quite one-shot them, but we get the snipe with the Venusaur, and we take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated, and with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.